Ndị be anyị kenekwanụ m unu. Anyị si ka nkonye chiri ya zelu. Anyị si na yadịrị anyị na mma na ya dịka echi na echi ada agwụ agwụ. Otu anyị kwuru otu aka dịrịrị. Ise n'ụbọchị uruchi nke taa ya wetara unu ozi ife anyị na-akpọ ya bụ latest update on what is happening in the land of ndị Igbo and the entire Biafra land. Ozi wetara n'ụbọchị nke taa bụ according to the Biafran activist wetara ya bụ ozi n'iru akwụkwọ gbasara maka ebe ife na-ada na-akpọtụ n'obodo nọ n'ime ya. As he quote, Biafrans react as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's validated again. Ogwuashi Ukwu local crash. Fulani bandit send them to their ancestors. They cover ransom. Hear the news in details. All right. Dika I see what Yabozi. If I'm according to the Biafran activists, what Yabozi need back. Dika I see Kuno, I get what update. Get any abife Kohanuju. Stand on one night, okay. You can see before you about Roriati and if you know. Over to you, sir.
Let us watch this video. Of course, a video that shows moments some locals in Ogwuashi Uku in Delta State stormed the forest, stormed the bush, where, of course, they confronted Fulani militaries who already collected ransom. They succeeded in recovering the ransom, of course, overpowering them and disaliving them. We understand that they say death and not they carry last. I think that's what they're playing out here. Remember that the other time, we had a situation where even in the past, in Abraka, the locals were able to even overpower bandits, of course, Fulani militaries. This time around, Delta have done it again. Another breakthrough in Delta State by the locals. Though, at some point, they collaborated with the police, but the locals played a pivotal role. I think it's going to show that, of course, the locals have what it takes, the best strategy, the wherewithal to deal with this issue of insurgency, this issue of course, banditry, as it has to do with Fulani military. No wonder they say that the Okram is local, and if Okram is local, the locals know the terrain better than the strangers who come in form of police. I'm not saying the police are not doing anything, but the locals should be empowered to be the first line of defense when invasion occurs. But let us quickly watch this video as we come back to further this conversation.
Sorry, sir. See, I beg. Please, man, like let's go. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moga. Okay, sir. That's it.
There's a particular individual who, of course, needs commendation. One Harrison, you equally see him in this in the video. He's always at it. Of course, he's a good community leader. I think it's going to show that the communities, the locals, have the expertise, and of course, they are the one that have what it takes to confront the Fulani militaries. That is why they should be more empowered. Of course, the government should give them a role to play in the security architecture. We must see an end to this issue of Fulani militaries. That video, there's another one we're going to watch that chronicle how the same Harrison led some locals to go and pay ransom in the past.
Mama there. So you go put all this mud for inside, eh? Hello? Eh?
Which one and which one will you buy?
You mean I just waiting for me to buy now diesel?
Now only the diesel.
I go buy them for road now. After they go, I will buy them for road.
Okay, but you buy that 2 cigarette, abi?
Yes, I don't buy them. That's two Benson, two road mass.
Yes. Then
I don't buy the milk. I don't buy the malt.
You don't buy those tablets.
I don't buy the Panadol Extra.
Okay.
Sachet.
Okay.
I don't buy.
You don't buy the You don't buy the slippers.
I don't buy the moi moi. I don't buy the bread.
You don't buy the slippers.
I never buy. I not see I'm buy.
Make you see slippers buy.
I go find her now. I go. As they go, I go sell for those shop for road.
Oh yeah, now may you they come to, may you enter inside down a town inside Bozo. Make you follow this road where they go Ogwuashi.
The express.
Yes, if you don't pay for this express where they go Ogwuashi, like you are going to Ogwuashi.
Yes.
Once you don't pay for the main road for the express, make you call me.
Okay, I will call you for the express.
Yeah, now go buy the gas, then you buy the slippers.
Okay. All right. So we proceeded to Iguzo. This is Iguzo, Ogwuashi Uku Road. That's the express, where they told us to come to meet with them. All right. Good evening. We are currently in Iguzo bypass. There's a river by Iguzo. The guy that was kidnapped yesterday on Friday.
Sorry, yeah? Sorry. I'm not being known, bro. Sorry. I'm not being known now. Sorry. Oh, bro, how many of them? So this was the guy that was kidnapped from right, he just released him down. Omo, thank God. Azu, bros. Omo, God. Living testimony. I don't fit talk.
Well done. Okay, so Azu is out. So we are coming back to Asaba now. Alright, thank you guys. They don't even show your face. I'm mad man, fear boy.
The boss.
Keep quiet. You dey fear.
Yeah.
Why you dey fear? You're a mad man, the fear. You follow me, the fear. I'm disappointed in you.
No, boss.
Why you follow me, the fear? If you follow me, why you dey fear? You follow me.
Just say turn back.
You follow Harrison. You follow Harrison. Gone the fear.
No.
You're mad. So my brother, how many of them?
They be 5. They carry 4 guns, 4 pump action, 4 direct pump action and AK.
And how many AK?
1 AK for 7, 3 pump action.
This people now, which people be this?
Hausa Fulani.
Fulani.
Hausa, these people are Hausa people, bros. Hausa people.
Where una dey inside this since on Friday?
Inside bush, 3 days they carry me waka for inside bush. Water, it's nothing. I don't put anything for. These people give me cassava for inside bush. I think they said don't eat cassava.
But now, as you come back now, they give you food will carry on. They give you.
They don't give me anything.
And they say we'll give you my money. They
just give me test. I test one my mind. They just see me they go. Like they don't be count the money. They just say money go. Like they don't know say everything they do with them now.
Yes.
Bros. So 3 days they carry me kind of.
Alright, so it's out.
So having watched the video, I think it's become very clear, abundantly clear for that matter, that the locals are better positioned to address this issue of insecurity. That is to say that the government should give them a pivotal role to play. I understand that currently there is a move to, of course, integrate, there's a move, yes, from federal government to actually integrate the locals, which has to do with forest guard. But I don't know why the issue is for dragging. But the important thing is that the locals should be empowered in terms of arm, in terms of gadgets, in terms of the vehicle and all of that to do the job. Because one thing is certain, if the environment is not secured, there's nothing anyone can do. Even in bringing investors into the country will be a mirage. So the way it is, I think the locals, but I understand that actually there was a little bit of a collaboration with the security agencies, maybe the police, but the locals played a pivotal role in this operation. As you can clearly see in the operation, of course, the faces and those who went for the operation. But beyond that, there's every need to rejig our security architecture. Yes. because the command and control system that is coming from Abuja that trickles down to the local is not working. That is the truth. I'm not saying they should jettison the policing system, but there's every need to rejig that security architecture. The locals must have a pivotal role to play if we must see an end to this. Because the way it is, all crime is local. That has been established. And the locals know the terrain better than those who are coming from other parts of the country in form of police and all of that. So if the locals are not in the front, on the front seat, of course, there is little the security agency can do. At this point, let us remember that this issue of kidnapping was restricted to the north, especially as it's coming from the Fulani militias. It was as a result of the inability of the authorities to address it that made it to come to the southern part of the country. And one thing that is very unfortunate is of course, a House of Assembly member in Borno State during the time of Goodluck Jonathan made it very clear that when the election of 2015 was postponed for 2 weeks to enable the authorities, the army, to deal with Boko Haram, that the Boko Haram was dealt with seriously, that the machinery that the Jonathan administration brought was doing a very good job. Unfortunately, the Buhari government came in and they jettisoned the idea of the machineries, and of course they sent the packing. And today we are seeing insurgency, we are seeing militancy, we are seeing of course banditry at the highest level, seeing Lakurawa coming into the fray, seeing different bandit leaders coming into the fray, seeing different form of activities of criminality in the north, and currently as we speak they are already here in the southern part of the country. So the point here is the security of lives and property is paramount. It's very important because no matter how you look at it, if the government is not able to address the issue of security of lives and property, there is no way you can have a meaningful development. Number one, it is very difficult to woo investors into an economy, into an environment where there is this level of insecurity. Of course, no investor wants to risk our money into an economy, into a country where life have no value, where people are kidnapped for ransom, where security agencies are not able to protect lives and property. So that is why it must be given the urgent attention that it needs. And fortunately, the government talk about the issue of forest guard, though it has been taking long time, it is delaying. We understand that the federal government have already directed state governments to recruit between 2,000 and 5,000 personnel in that regard, depending on their financial capacity to pay. But surprisingly, up to 2-3 months after the directive, no meaningful action have been taken in that regard. So we begin to wonder what is deterring the state governments. And of course, they should realize that they have taken an oath to protect lives and property. They should realize that the buck rests with them when it comes to protection of lives and property. Because you cannot be going by the name of the governor and the chief executive officer of a state. At the end of the day, you go with retinue of aids, retinue of security aids, without thinking of the protection of the citizens you are governing. So I think the governors must, with a speed of light, the urgency needs, address this issue of forest guard, and of course ensure that the locals are properly and adequately integrated into it, particularly the traditional rulers who know everyone in their terrain. Because no matter how you look at it, the traditional rulers know everybody in the terrain. And of course, this idea of intelligence sharing, this idea of diverging information from the locals to the security agencies, of course, the confidence will not be there if you are dealing with, if the locals are dealing with foreign strangers in terms of the security agencies that is alien to the environment. But if you integrate the security agencies, if you integrate the traditional rulers into the system, the locals will not find it difficult to divulge information to the traditional rulers who, of course, have been working with them, and all of them are born in the same environment. And once that happens, it becomes easier for even the traditional rulers to divulge such information to security agencies to enable them act on it. Of course, once you have an actionable intelligence that will pay off and it gets to the security agency on time, it will help in leaving crime in the board. In some cases, the crime will not happen and the people who are planning it would have been arrested. But we have a situation where even the locals are even getting more actionable intelligence than even the security agencies. We have seen what is happening in some part of the country, particularly in Zamfara, in Katsina, where the likes of Ado Aleru, of course, a bandit leader who is supposed to be in jail, is now having stakeholder meeting, having meeting with governors of Zamfara and Katsina. We begin to wonder whether our sovereignty is not questioned. Even the likes of Toji Bello, who, of course, the other time celebrated burning that military vehicle. Even the government, the army said they have neutralized his cousin, who doubles as his field commander recently. But it's not a record that himself have been arrested or neutralized, because as it stands, that Toji Bello need to be taken to the court, or if possible, neutralized in the field. Whichever one comes first, it is necessary, because if you look at what those who are part of Zamfara are suffering, it's only imagined. It cannot be experienced. It is not even what you pray that your enemies should experience. So, as a result of that, the government must, as a matter of urgency and necessity, rise to the occasion and do the needful. And again, the lives of those who are, of course, in the war front needs adequate, needs adequate care. I'm talking about the welfare of the personnel who are fighting, whether the military, whether the police. Of course, their welfare is of paramount importance. We understand that even during the SARS, part of the demand of those protesters was the adequate welfare of Nigerian police personnel. But what is certain, if you pay them well, of course, they put in their best. That is certain. We note with concern the concern of even some military personnel after the president rewarded those ladies who went and, of course, brought trophy back to Nigeria. And nobody is questioning the award given to these ladies, or rather the military award. But what the military personnel are saying, that their own inputs is not recognized. Because according to the military officer, if those ladies who represented Nigeria, and perhaps their job was just about 3 months prior to the competition, during the competition and all of that, could go home with about 150 million each, a house in Abuja. Of course, that the government can do better when it comes to their own welfare, and that, of course, they are in need of that. We equally not be concerned the other video that made around recently, where, of course, the military officers were displaying the food items that, of course, were bought for them. And according to them, in that video, they even contributed 60,000 per person. And they were talking about 9 of them, which is about 440,000. And the food item that got to them is nothing to write home about. And it's even heart-wrenching to see that those who are in the war front, battlefield, are even using their money to feed themselves. Of course, I think it is something the government need to look into and ensure that the government gets it right in terms of feeding them, not themselves feeding themselves. Because what is certain, if they are not adequately fed, it can lead to depression. Because one, they are thinking of how to confront bandits, criminals, terrorists, ISWAP, as the case may be. And secondly, they are thinking of their family back home and thinking of how to feed themselves. So it can give them, put them into depression, and the overall effect is counterproductive. That is why the government must, as a matter of urgency and necessity, see to their welfare that it is adequately taken care of. Just the same way they took care of those ladies, of course, who brought honor to the country. At this point, let me say that this constant excuse of government that porous border is the reason we are seeing influx of bandits into the country. Let me say that ought not to be an excuse. We as a country, because of the government to possess monopoly of crazy power, because I don't think money is a challenge. Because anytime the government goes to National Assembly for funding to fight insurgency, of course for security generally, there have never been any time they turn them down. They always get the fund they needed with speed of light. So to that extent, I think we should deploy technology as a people, as a country, to address this. Because if you look at the narrative that came from that Bronu legislature, of course, who witnessed the activities of those machineries, you understand that actually those machineries leverage on technology. Well, according to him, they were no more than 30, and they normally stays in an office, monitor the environment through technology, and each time they realize or notice gathering of people where the terrorists are staying, they assess their capacity, know the arm they are bearing, and all of that. And after all of that, I say they are not even more than 3 of them that will go with a chopper, of course a jet bomber, to take them out. And I said before they do that, they ensure that they take the picture of the activities of those in the bush they want to take out, as to bring back evidence of their operation. So I think we can do better. If we are not ready to go for machineries, we can leverage on technology. Of course, we have comparative advantage over the bandits. We can go for air platforms. We understand that the government have made an order for about 50 fighter jets. If that arrives, I think it should be deployed adequately and appropriately. Though, unfortunately, the 12 Tucano jet that was acquired during the Muhammadu Buhari's government, that we thought was going to be a game changer, never made any impact as such. Because if it made impact, we will not be seeing different terror groups rising up. We will not be seeing different bandit leaders coming up. All we will have been seeing is decimation of the bandits, decimation of Boko Haram. Instead, after the procurement of the Tucano jets, we saw ISWAP coming up, we saw Lakurawa, we saw different terror groups and terror leaders rising up after them. So it's going to show that the Tucano jet didn't actually make any much impact or difference, because if it made
the buying Guadalupe no Diconisi Gaya be five Jamakia with Benny Babu Bosso Chinketa. Actually, my phone channel didn't come Bastamaka before when I work at Kowagase update to hotel I need Wapo a Kefuncha Bastamaka be Fedro Poraya Nakara comment na comment section. Can for Alogi feature Mbakemesiano